out of the computer. And then, give me 1 second here. Share that one. Get to slideshow. Doo, doo, doo. All right. You guys can see that, right? Cool. Hey, Alex, I left you as co-host, and if you don't mind, if you can, just mute anything that sometimes people just come off mute. If you don't mind handling that and letting people in, I'd really appreciate you. And I will I'll get to, like, if you got questions along the way, just throw them in the chat, but I'm going to try to push through this and then we'll get to them at the end. And I'm going to probably move at least somewhat quick through the slides because I'd imagine that at the end there'll be time for people to want to actually, like, I'll open my email provider and we'll talk through it. So tonight's call is a little bit different, but I have been getting asked about this for months. Actually probably had like 6 one-on-ones with people last year about this, close friends. And we were talking about Hugh. I actually went to his house for 4 hours and helped him build all this stuff out on a day sometime last year. And so I figured, okay, I need to try to figure out how to condense this. I did a Zoom call with someone and I tried to record it. And we did record it, but it was just all over the place. It wasn't organized. And, I don't think I gave him the help that he really could have had. If I had taken the time to really sit down and dial down like the basics of email marketing. So for anyone who doesn't know, you might be wondering, why are we talking about this in a group that does predominantly real estate? Well, if you ever want to raise money, you're going to want to know how to do this. And if you ever want to build a brand or do anything else, maybe an IT company, Becca, or, whatever. Every influencer I've ever bumped into, if you talk about email and you ask them what their biggest mistake is, they'll say not starting it soon enough, because everyone thinks until you get to a certain point, you don't need an email list. And the reality is the email list is not only, well, we'll dig into the whys, but in essence, it's the one audience you control. And it's something you should be doing from the very beginning, because you can automate it to where it kind of stays top of mind to people. And we'll dig through all that. But we're going to kick it. And here we go. So this is what we're going to talk about today. There's supposed to be the word agenda in big bold font above number 1 there, but I'm a Marine, so that's what you get. And really, it doesn't matter because we're going to talk through it all anyway. So that's just a quick snap it. So here we go. This is really, most of these timelines don't matter, but I couldn't figure out how to edit my PowerPoint person's template to take 1 or 2 of these off. So I added in there, but big one is the brand was launched technically in January, but wasn't up and running really until February of 2018. It wasn't until October, after I attended FinCon and heard a million different influencers talking about how many, like, I probably heard 6 or 7 people talk about how not starting an email list sooner was their biggest regret. And I was like, I should probably do that. So started one about a month later. Mid 2019, I installed this thing called Opt-in Monster, which was like drop downs and stuff and pop-ups on my website so that it kind of automatically would get people to enroll. I don't actually use that anymore, but it was a great tool for the time. Although it's really clunky to have pop-ups everywhere. Then I finally, like a year and a half later, did an ebook and then did some lead magnet stuff. It was like mid 2020. I'm past the MailChimp gives you like 2,000 contacts for free, which is how they get you, because they get you in. They're like, oh, it's free until you hit this number. By the time you hit that number of people, you're like, oh, I don't want to go through the habit, like the mess of like moving all my stuff to another platform. And that's how they keep you. So I stayed with MailChimp until I was at like probably 13,000, 12,000 people on my contacts. And then I just realized some issues, which we'll talk through. It's just not able to do a lot of the stuff that I wanted to be able to do. And so in December, I moved to Go High Level, which I absolutely love. It is not the cheapest solution unless you look at it holistically. And we'll kind of talk through that as we get through this. It replaced a ton of platforms I was already using, and it was phenomenal. So why you need email marketing? One thing is you're not playing telephone. Like, with a lot of these, methods of communication, it's back and forth. You might get to someone, they might hear, you don't know if they heard. Your onesies and twosies, it's individual reach. You can only DM so many people, even on Facebook. Like, if you send 100 DMs, Facebook will block you for 24 hours. If you send 100 again, like eventually they'll just be like, you don't get to do that for a week. And so with email, everyone on your list, you can send an email with the click of a button, and you know that for the most part, it is going to end up in their inbox. Whether they read it or not, who knows? But you can at least touch base, right? So broad reach, everybody has a freaking email address. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that doesn't, but for the most part, everyone's got email addresses, and they're much more likely to give you that than they are a phone number, right? And you think through it from your own perspective. If I walk up to you and I'm like, yo, can I have your number so I can call you with offers? Much less likely to say yes to that than if I'm like, hey, here, email me or whatever, right? We're very used to emails being inundated with stuff. Um, it's cost effective. So, it costs me every time I hit my list right now on Go High Level, it costs me $10. There's not a whole lot of other ways that I could spend $10 and reach out to 25,000 people, 26,000 people, however many we're on at right now. You actually own the list. So for those of you who don't know, in like July, August, my Facebook got hacked, and I was able to, still touch base with people on email. Had I not been able to recover my Facebook, I would have had a means to say, hey, go to this Facebook group that I just created to replace the old one. Like there's a method there. When somebody gets shut down on YouTube or Instagram, or maybe YouTube changes their algorithm and you're not getting in front of people anymore, like with email, you can still touch base with all those people, right? You can take the list and move it elsewhere. You can personalize all the emails. You can do segmentation, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's accessible to somebody from computers, tablets, cell phone. You can completely and totally automate it, including drip campaigns and everything else. And then keep the conversation alive to build trust, drive sales, right? You guys can see all this stuff. So, I mean, this is why I love emails. Unlike social media, right? On like Instagram, I post, and if someone's scrolling through the feed, they might see it, they might not. But again, just like Facebook, I can't DM the 60,000 people in my Facebook group all at once. But with email, I could if I had all their emails. And then it's going to sit in the inbox, right? Like it's not just going to disappear in the feed. Like if your Facebooks are anything like mine, you might get a million messages in a day, and then whoever was the first one, you're not even going to see it until like months later when they follow back up with you and you feel like a jerk. That's probably happened to half of you, so I apologize in advance. It's good enough that Dan Slaughter yesterday was like surprised that I saw his message, and I was like, yeah, that's good. That makes sense. That tracks. All right, so lead magnets. Um, I'll just let you guys read through the list here rather than running through it, but essentially, well, I guess there are some people that are listening, not necessarily reading, so we'll touch base real briefly. But so lead magnet is nothing more than providing a free item that somebody might be willing to exchange their email for. So you guys have probably all fallen for this at some point or another where you're like, oh, wow, that looks cool. And then you click on it and it's like, hey, name an email. And then you get it. And then they email you the stuff. You're now on their email list. And that's why people create these things. The more valuable they are, the more likely you are to click on it. So my top 10 secrets for whatever, a free ebook, checklists, cheat sheets, a lot of companies will do like a free trial or a sample, like, hey, we'll send you a sample of this, or we'll give you a 14-day free trial. And all of that gets you on their email list so that they can market to you. Discounts, you'll see that when you sign up for like clothing. You go visit a clothing store and they're like, hey, if you give us your email, we'll give you 15% off your first order, right? Or a mini course delivered through email. Just anything you can think of, really. At one point after Tampa last year, I pushed out all of the recordings for Tampa as a lead magnet. I actually charged, I think, like $4 for that, because I was trying to get people to be a little bit more bought in than just like, whatever. But I took all the recordings from the Tampa Mastermind event, the live one, and pushed it out as a, hey, if you missed this because you weren't in the war room, now you can see the conversations we had. And that one was nowhere near as successful as I thought it would be, but hey, I got like 10 emails, so it works. Think of what your avatar is going to find helpful. So whatever your niche or audience you're trying to reach. So a good example for this is like Brandon Turner's trying to raise capital from accredited investors. And so when he runs advertisements online, he runs ads targeted at accredited investors with an ebook that is like, basically the ebook is like how to save taxes or how I pay no taxes as a six-figure earner through real estate. And then people are like, oh wow, I would love to pay no taxes as a six-figure earner. And those are the people who click on it. Then they give them their email and they end up on his list. All right. Tagging contents. Now I know that this picture is blurry. I could not for the life of me get it to not be blurry, and there weren't really a whole lot of other good um, examples. So tags is essentially, and I'll dig a little bit into this. I'll show you some of mine, but when you sign up for or jump on my email list or give me your email, you end up in my newsletter tag, which is just everything that I blast out on like a Friday saying, hey, these are updates, whatever. If you go to the War Room application, hang on a sec. I'm about to go throw my dogs outside. Oh, they all want the attention. So if you go and you end up on the email list, if you go to the mastermind application, you opt in, to see the actual application, you have to give me your email. Once you complete the application, it'll tag you as having completed the application. And then if you pay, it'll tag you as a War Room member and remove all the other tags. And if you don't enroll, it'll follow up with you for like a week. And then if you still haven't enrolled, it'll kick you to a tag follow up and a whole different flow of automated emails. All of this happens automatically based on what you do. And so what it allows you to do is just like this up here, you can have one lead magnet or another. So like I have a lead magnet, net worth tracker, and a lead magnet for my personal finance course to give away for free. Depending on which one of those you click on, you get tagged a different way so that when you add to the main list with the newsletter, I know you found me through the net worth tracker, or you thought the personal finance one was worth clicking on. And so it just helps you understand like what's working and what's not, give, a better understanding. And also you can see where people are in the process. And then you can use the tags to separate out amongst different workflows. And I'm going to ask you guys to give me just a second. I'm going to go lock these things in the other room. I apologize. For those who don't know, I have a dachshund and a corgi. They're little terrorists and they're adorable. But when it's icy and snowy and cold, they don't want to go outside. And then they get mad because they've been cooped up all day. So
If it makes you feel better, I couldn't really hear them.
oh yeah, well,
I know
that's
you could.
yeah, I was like, I've got this thing just yapping at the door. I'm like, I am way too ADHD
Yeah.
I can't focus on something while I appreciate it though. All right. Okay, so yeah, you can use it for all kinds of stuff. One of the things that I have done with workflows and tags is if you if you fill out my investor form, it'll tag you as an investor. The next thing you'll get is an email that asks like, hey, are you an accredited investor? Are you a sophisticated investor? Do you know what that means? And if you click on, I don't know what that means, it'll tell me that they're unsure. And if you click on accredited or sophisticated, it'll tell me which one. And then if you're accredited, it'll just kind of move you because I don't really need to send you a whole lot of stuff. You're an accredited investor. It might just show you like, I think I have it set up to send an email that's like, here's an example of a deal we did. And if you're unsure, it'll send you information that's like, yo, here's what a sophisticated investor is. Here's what an accredited investor is. Do you think you fit one of these criteria? Which one? And it's allowing me to tag my list. So now not everybody goes through all of the steps, but let's say for every 10 persons that complete the investor form, one of them checks the box for accredited. Well, I now have a growing list slowly of people that I can send a accredited offering to without having to worry about, accidentally sending an accredited only offer out in mass to people that shouldn't be able to see that per the SEC. And again, all happens automated behind the scenes. It takes time to build this out, but it's awesome. Um, you can also strategically remove tags. So I clicked a button, so now I have to come on use the PowerPoint again. We already talked through this. I actually got all these right. Look at that. Newsletter, opt-in, application, follow-up, or if you watch the webinar or the replay, tagged war remember, and when that happens, it drops all the rest of them. So this is what it looks like in the system. This is a trigger in Go High Level. Now they're actually getting rid of these and making you use workflows, just a different way of doing the same thing. But you can see I screenshot this today. If tag is added war remember, then the action it performs is it removes any and all of these tags that the person had. So it removes the newsletter, so they're not getting the random stuff. It removes the webinar replay, the application completed, the funnel, and the webinar registered. And actually, I added to this follow-up. So it removes the follow-up tag, which is awesome because I have been wondering for the last like 3 weeks why I keep getting new members that are receiving the follow-up emails and then replying, I'm already in the war room. And I'm like, I know you are. Why are you getting this email? Well, now I figured it out because somehow that tag never saved. So I fixed it. Problem solved. So going forward, you shouldn't get those. But anyway, so basically it's nice because it'll let me follow your journey. Like, hey, this person did this, 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 this. And then, oh, they got tagged war remember, and it removes everything. So you no longer get all of that annoying stuff. Unless you're the gentleman who just jumped on the call, Adam Whitney, who somehow, some way is on every single list in my system and gets every email I've ever sent. And he's always texting me like, why did they get this? I'm like, I have no clue, dude. Like, I think he just messes with me. He's probably creating fake email addresses just to be on all my lists and then tell me all my mistakes, which I actually really appreciate because it helps me fix all these systems.
I just really want to know about the Missouri meetups, man.
Yeah. Well, there you go. How you got tagged as a Springfield person, I will never know.
I literally just end up on the most random stuff you're sending. I don't mind. I like read your stuff and say, hey, this is cool. Hopefully I give your
You should
domain
come,
some
man. The meetup's gonna be great.
credibility. Yeah,
Marty will
talk
be
to me
there.
in July, bro, when it's not cold.
I will. Marty will be there.
I'm,
So
I'm a fair weather guy.
all right. Okay, so drip campaigns, workflows. I touched on this briefly. Again, not the clearest picture, but you can get the idea over here. A workflow is basically like, just think of it as an automated sequence. So I kind of talked through how this works already with the investor piece, where it'll send you an email, and if you do this, then this will happen. If you don't do this, then this will happen. Here's a perfect example, right, that I screenshot from somewhere. You send an email, it waits 4 days. If at the end of the 4 days you haven't opened the email, then it sends the same email again. And if you opened it, great, it sends a second email. If not, it moves you to an unengaged. Basically, this setup is so that it'll move you to unengaged so that the system knows, hey, this person's not clicking on anything. Like, let's leave them alone for a couple weeks and then send them another one and see if they open it then. I don't have a whole lot of those engagement sequences built out just because, because it takes a lot of energy and I'm working on outsourcing a lot of this because the things I want to do are more grandiose than the time I have. But if you did read the first email, it would automatically send you email 2, delay 6 days, and then yes, no. So an example that I have is when you join my newsletter, you'll get a bunch of like kind of a welcome sequence. It's like 4 or 5 emails of like, hey, I'm Dave. Hey, this is the community. Hey, here's all our free resources. Hey, whatever, just like an introduction. And then at the end of that, there's an email that goes out and it's got like 9 boxes. It's like a little survey. It's like, what are you interested in? And so you can check like VA loans, house hacking, real estate investing, passively invest. I don't even know. It's got like 9 options. And you can check them, you can check 3 of them, you can check 1 of them, you can check none of them, whatever. And for each one you check, it'll drop you onto a workflow for that. So if you click VA loans, you'll be sent a few VA loan resources. If you check, whatever. But if you do absolutely nothing with it, then it'll 2 days will pass and it'll do this if then. And if you don't open it, then it'll send you a different version of the same email with it, which is just much fewer words and still the survey. So workflows are just a really convenient way to automate your welcome aboard sequence or a follow-up sequence, an engagement sequence for like a webinar. So like, if Adam had signed up for said Missouri meetup, he would have gotten an immediate email saying, hey, here's when it is. 5 days prior to the event, he would get a text and an email, assuming he opted in for texts. And then 24 hours prior, he would get a text and an email reminding them about the meetup on Thursday this week. And that's all automated again, because nobody has time to sit and remember to send 500 emails to people right before an event. Just not going to happen. Then you can do one-offs, right? So like I have a lot of one-offs where it's like, hey, as soon as this thing's done, remove them from here. And it's literally the only step on the trigger or on the workflow. And you can also set it to like changing pipelines or where they are on a pipeline. So like if you watch a webinar, it'll move you from watch like in the CRM, it'll move you automatically from they watched a webinar to they watched the replay or, showed up or didn't. Like you can have it set to where it moves them along the CRM automatically based on their answers throughout here. All right. So this one's kind of funny because there's any marketer you talk to is going to have a different strategy for this. Like if you talk to Grant Cardone, I've heard him say this on multiple occasions. Grant Cardone's idea with emails is send as many as humanly possible because they're either going to buy stuff or they're going to unsubscribe, and you might as well be top of mind and be all over their inbox until they do whichever one they were going to do already. And he's like, if I don't have this percentage unsubscribing, then I'm not selling hard enough. That's his mentality. And then you get the people that are like, I'm going to send one email a month because I don't want to annoy my audience, which I also get. Problem with that is they're going to forget who you are. They're not going to recognize your email. From what I understand, and I've 1 to 2 times a week is kind of like the industry standard, but everybody has a different idea. So some say the first week they're in your list, your welcome aboard sequence should be Monday, Tuesday, every single day. Boom, 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 boom for like 5 days. I did first day, second day, fourth day, and then 4 days later, and then 6 days later, and then so it kind of like gradually spreads out, but you still get familiar. Really, it's whatever you're comfortable with. But I will say that the emails, I do have more and more people unsubscribing as it grows. And at first it'll be kind of uncomfortable, especially because you'll probably find yourself checking it. And then you'll be like, why did that person I know unsubscribe? Like, do they not love me? That's my high I personality on the disc profile coming out for anyone who doesn't know anything about or who doesn't know me that well yet. But you probably find yourself checking it. But at the end of the day, just know it's going to happen, right? Like people unsubscribe for all kinds of reasons. A lot of times it's just trying to clear out their inbox. They might not even know what you sent. So you can do frequent, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whenever. A lot of different strategies, but for more contact, you can stay top of mind. You'll have a better deliverability, which we'll talk about in a minute. You'll maintain familiarity. They'll know who you are, and you'll probably sell more stuff, right? The cons are you might come off as spammy and you may have more unsubscribes. So just play it by ear. Newsletter metrics. All right. So these are the most common metrics you're going to see for tracking, right? So your delivery rate is what percentage of emails that you sent an email to actually made it to their inbox. Now, it won't necessarily, it's not just inbox. It'll track it made it to them. Even if it ends up in spam, it'll count as deliverability. That being said, the open rate is where you'll notice, like, if you send an email with, you have 99% delivered and 2% open, then either your email pissed everybody off or it's ending up in spam, right? Then you got click-through rate is how many people read your email and clicked on it. You've got your conversion rate, which that's going to be a little bit more difficult to track because most email providers aren't going to be able to do soup to nuts for closings. And so you're going to have to integrate for that, like what percentage of people that made it to the funnel or the whatever you had actually paid. And only you can really dig through that and know that. So that's definitely trackable, but that's a little bit more in depth. I don't actually track that one. Just not fully set up like I could be. And then if you really get intense, then revenue per email, and that would be your conversion rate, how much money you made, whatever. Some companies are like they're that dialed in, but they're also companies that are selling like the same thing on every email, and I honestly don't use my email list to sell. I mean, I do obviously, but like more often than not, I'm just sharing updates. I'm not pushing it to sell like products and very often. And if I do mention something like that, it's usually the war room, which is just hard to track because someone might click on the thing for the application and join like 2 years later. So it's just, you never know. Then you got your bounce rate. Bounce rate is that's kind of like tracking the spam stuff. So that's like, they're not going to see it, but it made it to their inbox. How many people unsubscribed? You can track how much your list grew. You can track like how many people are sharing or forwarding your emails. I don't track either of those. I don't track the overall ROI because I don't have the revenue per email, and I'm not trying to like run I use my email more for top of mind and community stuff. You can see how many people complained for spam, and then you can kind of see the engagement, So this is your industry standards: 96% deliverability, 31% open rate, 5% click rate, and 2 to 5% conversion rate. Now, I will say this is quote unquote industry standard, but it depends on who you're talking to. I mean, I've had people tell me anything over 15% open rate is incredible. And I've had people tell me if they get under a 40% open rate, then they would just go home. So it's gonna depend on your list. And also if you have 500 people on your email list and you know each and every one of them personally, that's going to skew your open rate, right? So the industry standard here is 31%, but that's assuming like, that's like Target, right? That these are big companies where people don't know you personally. So just know that when you're taking it into effect, like if you have 500 to 1,000 people on your list, you're probably going to have a higher open rate because you know a lot of them, and your open rate's going to drop over time. And there's a lot of reasons. When I migrated to GoHighlevel, I messed something up with my email, or not even that. They don't like you using a Gmail, so I had to create David from militarymillionaire.com, and I blasted to it. And I didn't realize because I'd never had to worry about it because my military to millionaire at Gmail email that is Gmail email, had grown over time as I'm emailing. I didn't know you have to warm up your list. So, or your emails. So I blasted 20,000 people with this brand new email address that had never gone into anybody's inbox and nobody had ever replied to it. And my deliverability rate was like 30%. I was like, what in the world? My open rate was like 0.5%. And I was like, GoHighlevel's the worst thing ever. And then I realized it's because Google thought I was spam. Everyone thought I was spam, all these other things. And so you can improve it. So here's where we're at right now. I told you guys I was going to share real stuff, right? So it wouldn't load when I tried to do all time. So this is from October 1st to present. So I tried to pull it for all time, but I sat there for 10 minutes with it, giving me the spinny wheel like 3 times, and I just gave up. So since October, I've sent 687,000 emails, which, 25,000 people. That's, if I hit my entire list, we're talking math in public, right? Whatever that is, 534, probably like 34 emails since October that have gone out to the whole list. I mean, obviously there's smaller emails and whatever, right? So it's going to vary, but actually it's probably like 30. Deliverability 99%, 39% of those open. So I'm above industry standard for delivered and opened. I'm well below for clicked. Part of that's because I send a lot of emails that don't even have any links. Not a lot, but I mean, I do send emails that don't have a link because they're just informational. My complaints are pretty solid. I'd say, 1,000th of a percent or whatever that comes out to, 67 out of 687,000. I'll take it. bounce rate's pretty good. Unsubscribes, I mean, 1,400 people, that's a lot of people to unsubscribe in 4 months. But at the same time, I've got probably on average like 100 people a week joining. So, actually it's probably closer to 200 a week joining at this point. So it's whatever. And then 13 that failed. I don't actually know what that metric means, but, and then pro tips. So again, warm up your email list, like I talked about. I could go into a lot on that. There's a lot with it. Basically, I would just say you start with a small. So even if you got 20,000 people, hit like 50 of them and set it to do drips. So like, hey, email 50 people every 5 hours for the next week, and it'll just slowly, hit them and warm them up. So Google doesn't think you're spamming because you're doing smaller amounts. Another trick is take your email, like David at for military, whatever, and use that email to subscribe to other people's lists so that you look like a normal person's email because you're subscribed to lists. The more you can get people to reply to your emails, the less spammy you come off. So if you ever like signed up for my net worth tracker, it would be emailed to you and it would say, please reply that you received this. And then if you reply, now you're telling Google that I'm a normal email because we're having a conversation rather than me just sending, and nobody ever replies. So I ask actively for replies to things when I send stuff out. Because the more people that reply, the more it looks like I'm a legit email. And, segmenting your email list is exactly why I moved from MailChimp in the first place. And this was probably a conversation with Adam way back when I was running into issues where in MailChimp, you can't tag and you can't segment. And so I had a list of all the people who were in the brand and I had a list of investors. And if you filled out my investor form, you went here and you would never receive any of the emails for anything else. Conversely, if you joined here, you would never be sent anything about investing unless you found the investor thing. And then you could end up on both lists. And if I sent the same email to both lists, you would get the same email twice to your inbox. With Go High Level, I can have a single list. And based on the tags, I can say, I want to send this email only to investors, and it will. Or I want to send this email to newsletter people who aren't investors list, and it will. And so I was no longer sending accredited emails. It allowed me to send to the right person. If I want to send an email out about the VA loan, I can send it to all the people who checked the box for VA loan information and not bother everyone else on the list. So it's a nice little feature. You can't do that within MailChimp. When you're really working on this stuff, focus on your subject lines. The more people you can get to open the email, the better everything else flows. And then your copy from there. But A/B testing, so like within Go High Level, I can send an email and tell it to send to 30% of my list with 3 different subjects. So each subject will get 10%. And whichever of those has the most people click on a link, it'll pick and it'll say, that's the one we're going to send to the other 70%. So now we know, hey, out of this small subsect, this one had a higher click-through rate than all the rest of them. Send that to the other 70% so you get the biggest bang for your buck on your emails. It's game changer. And it's interesting because sometimes I'll throw like kind of a jokey subject in. Like I'm like, there's no way this one's going to win. And it does. So you never know. You can use like brackets. Every system has their own style of doing this, but you can say like, if you've ever gotten an email that says, hey, first name, it's because they used the brackets for a different system or you didn't have your name in their system or something and it glitched. So you can change that. Actually, funny story. My sales guy the other day, Caleb, sent out text messages to my follow-up pipeline just saying, hey, if you guys want to jump on a call with me, you can. And it was the first time he'd done that. And I didn't know he was doing it. And I put myself in all my systems as a test. And I always just make up ridiculous names for myself as to test it out because I'm just like going through it. You can't I can't have like 4 David Peres with the same email. It'll just put them all together. So I'm sitting there and I think I was with my buddy Wes. I don't know. I got a text and the text, I open my phone and it tells me it's from my Go High Level number. And all it says is, hey, douche. And I was like, who the hell? And I opened it up and I quickly realized like, oh, this is my team testing something out. I put myself in, I guess. So I put myself in as first name douche /bag or last name bag, and it threw me off. It was pretty funny. I was like, oh well played, because I didn't send it out, so I didn't know it was coming. All right, so you want to have clear calls to action. Tell people what to do. If you don't tell them to click the link, they're not going to click the link because they have no idea what they're doing, and people are dumb. It is what it is. Like, you need to have a clear, like, do this thing if you want this, and people will do it. And if you don't do that, even if you have a button that says click here for this, like, just have a good call to action. Again, ask for replies. We talked about that. Engage with your audience. So if someone does reply back. It helps. The mail tester is a spam check. I'll talk about that in a second. Stay consistent. Monitor, look at your analytics so you can kind of learn what your audience likes. And then keep templates, right? So within Go High Level, I can have a bunch of different campaigns that I can just reuse the same one, or I can create a template and put it on a drip campaign if it worked well, or you can just take it and then you can redo part of it instead of having to reinvent the wheel every time you send an email and start from scratch. So this right here, the 2.3 out of 10, told you I was going to be authentic. I ran myself through this mail tester, and I thought that we had fixed these issues, but clearly not. So you can see I'm not blocklisted. I'm safe. I had all my links worked. Everything was great, except DKIM, which is, I can't remember the exact terminology for it, but it's the like piece of your email that, like, basically, like, when you send an email, Google will cross-reference your domain information. So it's your domain something something, and it is supposed to be linked to your domain in a domain server, DNS. I'm not going to get too technical, but essentially, your domain, your website, is supposed to say, this is my email address. And I thought we had set it up and fixed it because it was busted. Clearly not. So I need to go do that, because that will improve dramatically my deliverability, which is already good, but it'll improve. No, I guess not deliverability, but my bounce rate. It'll improve how many of my emails end up in the inbox vice the spam box. And so I need to go do that, because that's probably why my click-through rate sucks. So some recommended tools, and I'll drop these in the chat whenever I get done here. But I've got, a link. Yes, absolutely an affiliate link, because they're great. But I only have one for Go High Level MailChimp. I don't have one for any of the other stuff. But these are just some good tools. So I think MailChimp's good if you're just starting out because it's free. But I just be cognizant that you're going to have to move away from MailChimp at some point if you want to have improved deliverability. So depending on your goals, it may make sense to do the lower tier Go High Level right away. It is more pricey, but it will replace your Calendly. It'll replace ClickFunnels. It'll replace, I'm drawing a million blanks. It replaces all kinds of stuff. I pay for the enterprise. So I pay for the most expensive version to Go High Level. It's $497 a month, and it paid for itself off the other systems that I was able to shut down in month one. Oh, that's because I was paying $225 a month for MailChimp by then because of how many contacts I had. So after you get past that 2,000, you have to start paying, and as you incrementally increase your list, you pay more. So between that, ClickFunnels, Calendly, and there was one other thing, Zapier, I was able to replace, basically pay for myself by moving to it. Canva is useful. You can use it for free. You can pay for it. Good for design stuff. ActiveCampaign and Constant Contact are two other email providers that I've heard good things about. I've not used either specifically. I want to say ActiveCampaign is what Ryan Dawsey uses, and Constant Contact, I believe, is what a lot of the like bloggers recommend. Pros and cons to all of them. The reason I like Go High Level is that it's everything. It has a CRM. It has, like, it's an all-in-one. You can even use it to build out your website. So, okay, so I will walk through some of this stuff. And then I got this fancy slide. None of you really need to, you can use it if you want, but you don't need to click on that. You've all got my contact info. That'll give you a free PDF of my book if you want it. If you don't have that, just let me know and we'll get it to you. So I'm going to shut this down real quick and just show you guys real quickly. First off, I'm going to drop these in the chat. And then Oh, apparently it won't let you click on whatever. If you guys want the links, just let me know and I'll. Oh, okay, it does. Why is it showing up as like a whatever? Don't mind me. All right. So go high level. We'll do a real quick break and then I'll pause. We'll do questions and all that stuff. I know we're probably gonna end up going a little bit over today, but you guys are welcome to drop or hang out. So one of the things I like with the higher price go high level is that you can do different LLCs. So you can see I've got my main one that we'll click on in a second. This is something I can gift people if they want to use my CRM for referrals. I can gift them that. You can see, obviously, I take everything I do for myself very seriously. And this is definitely not just a training one that I clearly named for all sorts of seriousness. And then this is the one that if Adam had signed up for that event, he would be in this LLC's setup and workflow and contact info. And so all of these are totally separated. Like you could sign up for that event here in Springfield, and I would not have your email and contact info in this brand. It would be completely segmented. So you could have like 7 different businesses running in the same platform, except that I used a Zapier so that anyone who does sign up for any one of these automatically ends up in my big one, because why would I not want their contact info? All right, so dashboard, and we're gonna, what did I say? We're gonna do a done for you. Oh, I haven't built this out yet, but I want to basically take my basic like welcome aboard sequence template, like the workflow, and I'm gonna basically duplicate it and create a template for it. So if anybody does sign up for Go High Level under my affiliate, I will then have the ability to gift you that. Now that's probably going to be something that takes a little bit of time, but and obviously you would have to redo all your emails. Otherwise, you're gonna have like 70 people who sign up, and then all of a sudden it's like anyone who joins your list is getting, "Hey, I'm Dave." I'm like, no, you're not. Well, you didn't edit your email. But it'll give you the template so that you can just take it and tweak some things instead of rebuilding everything, because that's a nightmare. And then briefly, since we talked about this one, I'll just kind of show you the steps here for this. So let's say we went to lead magnets, and we'll do this one. Click on the investor page. So if you went to my website, right, I'll show you just so you guys can see how this all plays out. You go here, like, oh, wow, resources. Oh, look, an investor portal. This is actually, anytime you see the opportunities dot, that's just what I did. This is actually a Go High Level page. So it drops you off the website over to Go High Level. You can see it right there. I'm not going to click on it, but it would open that. Someone fills that out. They would then end up in this workflow, which is got all these single purpose ones, but it would be capital raising. Nope. It would not be capital raising. This is what happens when you have too many things. Okay, so it'd be this one. So you can see right here, I set it so that if they submit the investor form, it plugs them in here. It will then wait 5 minutes, add the tag investor. It then waits another 10 minutes, at which point it'll ask, hey, do they have the accredited investor tag or not? If they do, it removes them from this workflow. If they do not, hey, what investments are you looking for? It sends them all the stuff again, right? So that's exactly what we talked about. And it kind of just repeats until they either do answer the questions or they just get to the spot and it says, we give up on you, and kicks them off. And then then it'll add the newsletter tag, which I could go through and show you how all that's built out. But I have it set up to where it automatically adds you to the newsletter tag unless you're in one of these two or three things is how you added yourself to the list. So like it won't add the newsletter tag for 90 days if you clicked on the war room. That way it gives you time to go through that whole process and see if you join. And it won't have the newsletter tag for like 15 days if you do the investor form. That way it gets through all the investor stuff before you get all the welcome aboard stuff. Just to try to keep the bombardment. But we'll just leave it there for now. That was a lot. Anything good in the chat over here that we need to jump on? Let's see. Email is definitely not dead. It'll only remove the tags for future, Charlie. You can set it, you can go in there at any time and do a mass remove. Like you can go in there and say filter by anyone who has this tag and then remove whatever you want to do with all of those contacts. Becca, I think I've answered that by now, but go high level. Oh, it's already been answered by other people in the chat too. Open rate, guilty for bookmarking and not going back to read them. Yeah, douchebag. I want, yeah. Thanks, Emma. Okay, well. So yeah, go high level is unlimited contacts, Dave. It does charge per email as you send. But it is, I mean, it's reasonable. Let me just, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, so give me 2 seconds and I'll tell you how much it is. Oh, I gotta go to the main page, not my. Where are we at? Email services. There we go.
Grandfathered on HubSpot, but so I'm not paying their new prices, but I'm still spending about 30,000 a year.
Wow.
And
how big's your list, if you don't mind my asking?
About 450,000.
Okay. Yeah. So, it would add up, but it depends on how much you send out. I want to say it's like,
this year.
I'm gonna mess it up. I'll get you an answer, but I think it's like $1 for every 10,000 you send or something like that. It's not that. I pay basically $10 every time I send an email, which for me is I absolutely make that up every time I send an email on average. So
whether you're paying it on the front end or the back end, just to kind of figure it out.
yeah, it's gonna drive me kind of nuts that I don't, but it's whatever. I should know where it is. Oh, maybe it's the prospecting tab. They've been adding enough. This is one of the things I like about Go High Level is they really take people's feedback seriously. So they are pretty good about like implementing new things very quickly. Ty, they do have, oh, look at that. Looks like you got an answer in the chat. So yeah, Ty, they have a they have a ton of tutorials, but then also they have I want to say it was like $200. I don't know. They have you can do like a setup call when you first join and they'll like give you some templated stuff. It's not bad. It's probably not going to be exactly what you want. In fact, I never use the stuff that they set up for me because, well, really, because I didn't know what I wanted when I paid for it. I just wanted someone to teach me the ways. And then they kind of did that and they built a bunch of stuff out for me. And then I was like, I don't need any of this crap. So it's great, but it's not what I use. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, workflow, I mean, as I'm learning, is the better way to grab things, particularly if you're moving out and wanting to kind of branch into different areas. And as you go deeper and deeper in it, you can really identify what you want to identify and to be able to trace it back. And so then it allows you to retarget. So you're not doing the blasts. And so the more you can get down to that, the better off you are. And the workflow allows you to do that. I'm learning.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's so much. I'm working to just, I don't know. I pinged for anyone who knows Justin Melendez. He is a whiz kid with this stuff. And I've been pinging him today. Like, well, I was hoping that he was going to tell me he outsourced all this, but he still does everything himself, unfortunately. So then I'm like, what do I got to pay you to, you know, he does consulting, but I'm like, that's not what I want. I'm probably going to go hire a VA who specializes in this. The problem is, and the reason I haven't done it, I really enjoy this. Like, there is a part of me that just loves the like, what if I get this person? I need them to be here. So I want them to sign up for this thing. And then I need to send them this email, this email, this email, and they'll end up here. And there's a part of me that likes playing that game. And I will spend entire days screwing around with Go High Level. And it is not the best use of my time, but I enjoy it. And I'm not bad at it per se. So I'm like I built most of the stuff out in here myself because I just, you know, over the last year. But now I'm like, okay, I've got to get myself out of this because I will spend like 1 day a week screwing around with system stuff on this, and it is not my strength. But it's fun. So trying to hire a VA or somebody to do it for me, and they can do it better. So yeah, we'll get there.
Hey, Dave, I was going to ask you, you mentioned something about your Go High Level phone. You have a separate phone connected to this account, and what kind of, is it a Google phone? What did you use?
You can. I just plugged in my cell phone number, and then when people get marketed from me, when they don't see my number by any means, I would lose my mind. But it redirects to my phone number, so I can easily change that to Google Voice or to my assistant's number or whoever. But we don't get a high volume. And sheepishly, I will admit that at this point, when I see the Go High Level number come through, I just let it go to voicemail. I never answer it because it's like once a week, and I'm like, I don't know who that is because it doesn't tell me who it is. It just says, you know, something from like someone's calling your Go High Level number. And so what usually happens is someone's on an automatic trip, they get a random text message. I have no idea it was sent out, and then they call. You know, they're like, "Who's this?" And they call, or "Oh, that must be Dave," and they call. And then I answer the phone like, "Hello, you know, who's this?" And they're like, "Oh, you sent me this thing." And then I'm just like this blubbering idiot who's like, "I have no idea what's going on. I don't know who you are. I don't, you know." So I have learned to just not answer that until I get to a volume where it makes sense to bring someone in to answer the phone, because I'm like, we don't know what they're calling for, what information they got. So we just look like idiots if we answer the phone. So I let it go to voicemail, and then I figure out who it was in the system and get back with them that way.
Gotcha. But essentially, they Go High Level hides your personal number.
Yeah, you pay for well, when you set it all up, they give you a number, and then they give you your email or whatever, and you can redirect all that stuff. What else we got? Everybody give Alex a big round of applause for accepting people in, so I didn't lose my mind. Except I still had dogs, but thanks, Alex.
Can you take payment through Go High Level?
I can. Yeah. It integrates with Stripe, so you can do all of it right there. And there's a couple other ways to do it, but I just set up Stripe, and so yeah, I can take payment for pretty much any. It's very interesting what you can. I mean, there's not anything really that I found that you can't necessarily do with Go High Level. They've built it's not the best at any one piece of the puzzle, but it does every piece of the puzzle well enough. And I don't know of a better all-in-one out there.
Do you still use Zapier?
I do. It just because I had so many things built out on it already that I wasn't about to take the time to just take it all apart and build workflows. If I hire someone for this, I might, because Zapier is like, I don't know. It's only like $200 a year, but it's actually, I think I'm on the higher price one. Yeah, Zapier gets pricey. And they do have an API set up where you can do most of that directly from Go High Level. It's not quite as robust, but it's pretty good. Josh, I don't know if you meant to direct message me that or not, but I'm going to just throw it out there. So Josh asked me what's the best method for gathering new emails, and then followed that up with social media as the question mark. For me, yes, absolutely. When somebody joins my Facebook group, I make it optional, but I say, you know, if you'd like information, drop your email here or whatever. And I would say probably a third of the people who join my Facebook group give me their email when they do. And then I have a system called Group Track that I just started paying for, which will automatically take their information and throw it syncs it to Go High Level. So I can, when I add someone to the Facebook group, if they have an email, it automatically does it, because before it was my assistant. And so when you've got 400, 500, 600 people a week joining, that gets very tiresome to have to plug in 150 emails. And then Group Track also allows like automated DMs, which I have not quite figured out, and kind of drives me nuts, because I'm like, you know, if 50 people sign up for my Facebook group and say they wanted my book, then it'll automatically DM them from my account, you know, hey, saw you wanted my book, here's a link for the book, which is great. But then like I haven't figured out the next piece of the puzzle. So like it'll send that, it'll move them to the next section, and then they'll all get like the same message, which doesn't make any sense for whatever we were talking about. And I'm like, I can't figure out how to, yeah. So I got to work on that. It's great the first time. People are like, oh wow, Dave cares about me. And then the second message they get, they're like, who the fuck is this? I'm like, that didn't work. So yeah. Yeah, Charlie, Group Track, it's good. Happy to, I don't think there might be an affiliate. I don't have one, but happy to point you towards it, but you can find it. It's a blue and yellow logo. And I can kind of show you what I'm working on. The one cool thing that Group Track does for anyone who's really nerdy about all this stuff is if I make a Facebook post and I'm like, comment down below if you want info, it will automatically send a message to every one of those comments every time it comes up. Like every hour, it'll recycle and it'll comment on every one. And it says like, you know, it's like 3 different versions. It'll be like, yo, I'm going to send this to you. And then over the next hour, it will DM them. And so I no longer have to like babysit all the stuff. So it's great. Oh yeah, Charlie, I'll happy to talk through that stuff. That's awesome. Congrats. Yeah, we'll brainstorm. Probably not this week because I'm super busy, but yeah. Actually, we'll have an entire like week together. We can do like last year where we sit at the ski retreat on our laptop like nerds and go high level it up.
Yeah, notice my address is in your Go High Level account.
Probably.
Yeah, I saw it while you were scrolling through there.
Oh, that's funny. Is it? Huh. Was it the military? Oh, was it the military to agent one?
Mm-hmm.
You're the address for it? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you weren't my partner on that.
So you're saying you want
You need to
mail,
get better
Charlie.
partners.
Sorry, what was that, Mike? Yeah, best partners.
I said, so Charlie, you're saying you want mail sent to your place?
Yeah, everybody go watch the recording and you can just
Yeah, do it. Send me what you got.
sign them up
Glitter-
for sign them up
glitter
for the Army
bombs?
recruiter, sign them up for colleges. Those are the worst. I used to do that to my recruiters when they would really piss me off. I'd sign them up for like a bunch of local community college mailers. Those guys don't quit. Crickets. That's a good one. All right. If we don't have any other, that's a great question, Wade. My assistant texted me like 4 hours ago that she sent me the designs for options for t-shirts. And then I have been doing a whole bunch of not looking at it. So that's my plan. Probably first thing tomorrow is to go through everything she created. I ran a contest. Like normally I have a lot of luck with these freelancer contests. I'm going to stop this recording just because